After 2 weeks away from the track, the Velocity Online Racing League is back in action, and tonight their flagship IR18 series has taken its way back to the United States, and it is a brickyard where we will host 500 kilometers of racing. Welcome to the virtual Indianapolis Motor Speedway. This is the 11th running of the VOR Indianapolis 500 kilometer, and as it stands, 6 minutes of practice are moments away from our starting grid of 33 drivers. Already qualifying has been set, and as such, we have a full field set to go 3x3 in formation and lead us into incredible racing at this historic venue. Welcoming you all live on FTN. I'm David Kreutz, and soon I'll be joined by Gary Godso as we look at all of tonight's racing coverage as we've been a few weeks away from this series. The championship battle is ramping up, and as it stands, Bruno Miranda is the driver at the top of the pylon in the points. You can see right now on your screen, Miranda going to find himself all the way at the top with Julian Altena about 52 points back. Then Jesper Orman in third, and it's going to be then Craig Forsyth, position number 4. Miranda, we were last here with this series, was running away with the championship, multiple wins to his name already, and he's become the dominant driver to look out for. However, Altena Autosport is going to be the leader in the team standings. India Alliance Racing then going to be second, and 4D Raceware in third. Those are the top 3 teams coming into tonight. All of tonight's racing will be presented once again by our friends at Ryder Engineering, so we thank you guys for stopping by and watching the coverage. Ryder Engineering going to join us all in bringing the action to you, and we're going to have a few Ryder cars in the field tonight, so keep an eye out for those who are sporting a similar paint scheme to what you see on your screen right now. Matthias Kraus going to be at the top of the board right now for all drivers who have taken a practice lap on pit road for the time being. You'll see many drivers on pit road, but a few others who are getting laps in. A few rookies in this field tonight as well, so familiar faces and drivers we've never seen previously. Bruno Miranda right now going to be on the way, one of many drivers taking practice times, and so far in this session, 28 drivers have taken a lap of the 30 that are currently registered. As Miranda gets out in order, it's going to be a very slow lap for these drivers as they bunch each other up. You'll see more and more coming off of pit road as we speak. Behind Miranda, there's going to be Edson Santos, Mark Murphy, and then Matthias Strauss. It looks like now Strauss getting up to the pack as well. You'll see more and more drivers coming in, so expect a simulation of our race start here. Going to give you a little bit more of an understanding of what we are going to look at here in the Brickyard. 2.5-mile circuit with drivers still approaching this pack. It's a fast track. Not a lot of banking, as you'll see, and drivers having to rely on just about 15 degrees of banking through the corners. It is a rectangle through and through. Nothing too crazy about the shape, but the crazy part is the speed. 40-second laps at a 2.5-mile circuit. You'll see drivers hitting speeds of over 200 miles an hour with ease. And we're going to see that once again now as drivers are going to come across the start-finish line. 3x3 formation. We'll see who jumps it and gets things moving. Let's practice for our start in less than 10 minutes time. It's going to be the virtual green flag that's waved on this practice stint. Julian going to be up in the front row with Liam O'Sullivan right there in the middle. And you can see now as they come across the start-finish line, staying intact. See whether or not they try to go for a move or they're just simulating the pace laps. You'll see there's Joshua Tucker as well, and it's going to be a who's who in this field. You'll see right now one of our rookies in Fyodor Dovzhenko is going to be in 16th in what looks to be a reminiscent paint scheme of Danica Patrick in the GoDaddy number 96. One of the new drivers tonight who we will mention our starting grid as more and more drivers are getting ordered into this pace formation. So for the final minutes here in practice, looks like the track going to be fully occupied by the field pacing. Just about everyone on the track. I think it's going to be one final simulation here, riding on board with John Christensen, and you'll see a little bit more from the insider perspective. And this is what we're going to see, but for real, in only a few minutes. Most drivers, of course, have had experience with open-wheel racing before in this league. However, not a guarantee they've gone for a full 500 kilometers. Nevertheless, the Brickyard also adding its own challenge as well. You might be experienced with endurance racing, but in Indianapolis, it's an oval. Most endurance races are not on left turns only. However, here with the speeds and the type of car we're working with, it's not going to be easy in the slightest. You'll see right now Christensen running in our technical third row. And with just about everyone on the track, going back to guys like Bill Cooley and Jasper Orman, they're all set up to get things going here. Alexander Bonney, Bruno Miranda in the mix, Ty Richter. I think they're all right now organized in practice lap speed, save for someone like Matthias Kraus or even Craig Forsyth, both of which not going to be where they were relative to their fastest time. Taking a look back up in front, should be seeing a lap or two if they choose to get going this time by. Up in front, you'll see Julian in that number 11, and it looks like now, yes, we will get going for a little bit of a mock race start, and it's going to be Joshua Tucker leading the field in as we're going to come through turns 1 and 2, a preview of what's next for the night. And we're going to get in single file, riding nicely. Max Molina, the oval driver, making his way back to this series, and it looks like now one driver going to spin, already a smoke show in the back. And very aggressive on this start, of course, with 53 seconds left. Doesn't mean all too much for these drivers at the very least. So no major dangers. They're all trying to figure things out. Side-by-side battles. 45 seconds left to go. Not much else going to come of our practice session. The fastest lap set by Matthias Kraus. However, before we go racing, we'd like to present to you a little more information about the event you are going to be watching live on FTN. So let's take a look here from the virtual Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The Brickyard, one of the most infamous circuits in all of motorsport for over a century, and there's none quite like it. The 11th running of the Indianapolis 500 kilometer here in VOR, presented tonight by Ryder Engineering, and it's going to be an exciting race, that is for certain. And you'll see here Indianapolis Motor Speedway, as we mentioned, it is only going to be a rectangular shape, nothing else to go with it, and it's going to be that speed that really carries the drivers through to make fast, exciting laps from top to bottom. And as you can see once again, here are your standings. It's going to be Bruno Miranda at the top of the board by 52 points, and it's going to be Altena Autosport with the team championship right now in their hands. Manufacturer Altena, and it's going to be Miranda the driver to look out for in tonight's race. Those are your juggernauts, and you'll see the entirety of your top 10 going all the way down to the bottom. It's going to be Joshua Tucker right now in 12th, Zilvazi 11th, Vinny DeCuna, Liam O'Sullivan, and Pedro Bibel, rookies inside the top 12 of your championship standings, rest of which are the veterans. Now, this is your starting grid for tonight's event. Joshua Tucker is going to be on the pole position with Liam O'Sullivan in second and Julian Altena in third. Jonas Weber, the rookies, in fourth, with Bruno Miranda then in position number 5 and Edson Santos 6th. Mark Murphy and Sergio Vincentini going to be 6th and 7th, and it's going to be Fyodor Dovsenko in 9th and Matthias Strauss to round out the top 10. We'll go more in depth in a few moments. That's the rest of your starting grid, and we have a total tonight of just about 8 rookies, so look out for all of them as we are set to take to the track momentarily. Practice is concluding. We are now on to our main race session, and it's time to look back to the Brickyard and find out what's going on. Every driver lined up on this starting grid with Tucker at the top of the board. Here we go. And as we mentioned, let's go a little bit more in depth about each and every driver. That was a quick flash through of information. Now let's go from top to bottom and find out even more about the grid you're looking at tonight. Joshua Tucker going to be on top with Liam O'Sullivan then in second. And right now, Julian Altena going to be right in third. Now, it's not going to be the traditional double file start. It's going to be for every row, 3 drivers to take to the green flag, and it's going to be Jonas Weber, the highest of all rookies, starting in the second row tonight. Bruno Miranda is then going to be in 5th, and it'll be Edson Santos in 6th, position number 7, Mark Murphy. Then from there, it's going to be 8th, Sergio Vincentini. Fyodor Dosemko is going to be in 9th, and it's going to be Matthias Strauss to round out the top 10, with 11th, them being Sebastian Kinder and Patrick Zilvazi in 12th. Vinyan DeCuna is 13th with Dan Ench in 14th. Eric Mikado is 15th, and Matthias Kraus is in 16th spot. And there's going to be a lot of veterans here. Vinyan DeCuna, the only seasoned rookie in this 3-row blip. Then you see Gary Lovern, who's going to be in 17th. Ty Richter is going to be in 18th, and John Christensen is position number 20. Alexander Bonney is going to be the final driver inside of that top 20, and then from there you will see Max Molina in 21st, Bart Firestein in 22nd, and Bill Colley in 23rd. Pedro Bibel, who's in the top 5 of the championship standings, a deep run for him tonight it'll be. He's going to be starting in 24th with Alaric Vandenbosch in 25th. 26th place is going to be Tien Vandenveld, and it'll be Sebastian Alexander 28th, Dan Marrera 29th, and Jesper Uhrmann, who we've seen oh so quick at these ovals. He'll be starting in 30th tonight. Final driver on the grid doesn't look to be with us. Hugo Galez was set to start at the back. Unfortunately, number 57 does not appear to be with us tonight, and as such, 30 drivers to take it onto the field. Uhrmann going to be moved up into the 10th row as a result of Galez retiring. And now, 2 laps from the green. As it stands, you can see these drivers making their way into formation, and tradition here at the Brickyard once again coming alive. For Joshua Tucker, it's an honor to be at the top of the board, and he's got himself exactly where he wants to be to get away from the trouble in the opening laps. Now, not always the premier position to be in for the entire race, but starting up in front is a huge deal at the Brickyard. You might as well stay inside the top 5 for the opening stint. We might see Joshua Tucker back off, let someone else lead, and try to get inside of that slipstream to already be looking out for the long green flag run. With 30 drivers on the track, though, don't expect it to be an easy getaway for these drivers. We're going to see aggression from the very beginning here. It's the nature of drivers at Indianapolis, and we might just see more of that as we get going in just a few moments. Tucker, O'Sullivan, Altena, that's the top 3. Then from there, you'll see Matthias Strauss is going to be the final man inside the top 10. He starts on the 4th row. And it looks like right now, with the exception of Bill Colley, everyone is in this formation. Bill going to choose to start at the back of the field and going to be starting from pit road to avoid any trouble outside of the top 20. He would have started regardless, so going to decide to wait a little bit longer as we now have ourselves 1 lap to green. Drivers are coming through this time by iRacing official pace car, not going to be with them. Barney the flagman awaiting the time to call the green flag. Drivers come through 3 wide at the line. And excitement for every driver. I'm certain it's going to be almost everyone in the pack more excited now than ever before, as they know we are moments away from getting things going for Joshua Tucker, Liam O'Sullivan, Julian Altena starting on that front row. It's going to be nerve-wracking, but I'm certain right now they're just about as ready as anyone else in the field to take on the track and make things work out. Bruno Miranda, who's been oh so successful throughout the entirety of this season, the winningest driver so far and your points leader. If there's any race he'd like to win to cap off what's been a fantastic first half and move on to the final leg, tonight it's the one everyone's looking for, and now maybe a chance to execute and get it done in Speedway, Indiana. Sergio Vincentini right there with Mark Murphy. Fyodor Dovchenko is going to be in 9th. And you can see right now some of those up-and-comers inside the top 10. Rookies all throughout. You're going to see Max Molina further on back and further on through. You'll also see Dan Marrera, some faces you might have never seen prior to this race. And now they're on the circuit. 30 of the best open-wheel drivers on iRacing getting ready to take on Indianapolis for 125 laps. It's a challenge unknown even as we race week after week, and it's time to push toward the absolute limit in racing tonight in Indy. Coming around this time through, Joshua Tucker up in front, Liam O'Sullivan going to be in 2nd, and Julian Altena in 3rd. Getting things moving this time by, Tucker's going to be able to be the driver to take it to the green flag, get this race going. And the number 77 is on its way. Green flag for the Brickyard. Welcome to the 11th running of the Indianapolis 500 kilometer. At the line, Liam O'Sullivan going to lead a clean first lap. And we are on our way now here from the virtual Indianapolis Motor Speedway. You're going to see Dan Ench in that number 52. In addition, Gary Lover finds himself now in 17th with Tyler Richter in the 18th spot. A few drivers already bubbling up for some side-by-side racing. We are in for the long haul. Going to be about 124 laps to go from this point on. And drivers already fighting each other for position, but don't expect it to be anything long-term here. Everyone knows these battles are fleeting, and it only matters in the final stretch. For a lot of these drivers, they're just trying to get away from the pack. It's going to be hustling back and forth as your leaders come across the line. Side by side, Joshua Tucker leads lap number 2. He's going to get that lead, jump down to the inside line. Julian Altena gets away as well. Now it's going to be Bruno Miranda up into 4th. Biggest mover so far on the day going to be Patrick Zovazzi from 12th up to 10th. And the caution's out for the first time already. Yellow flag going to fly. It's a huge wreck in the back. Dan Ench, and it looks like John Christensen involved. Same goes for Max Molina. Yellow flags out already, and 3 drivers already see their nights all but over in the first 3 laps. Caution is out, and it's going to be trouble already for Max Molina and company. We're going to find out who caused it here. And so early, nights are already over. Let's take a look back and find out what started this incident. Looks like Dan Ench, John Christensen going to start this one. And you can see Ench right there going to be coming down in, and Christensen right up. There they go. Ench gets sent up to the high side of the track, and Max Molina immediately does a cartwheel. Christensen destroyed. Max Molina goes up and over, and we're going to get a better look at that from on board the number 45. Molina already with the hardest hit of the night, and he went for a somersault multiple times in the air. One more time, here's on board with Max Molina. Caution is out, and we are watching right now what's going on for these drivers. Molina is sent up in the air, into the catch fence, up and over. And he comes down eventually, but he saw just about every angle. And right in front of the fans, coming out of turn 1, Molina destroyed. Just like that, his race in huge jeopardy here. Only 4 laps in. He's going to be on pit road, and the leaders are flying by right now. Joshua Tucker, Liam O'Sullivan up in front. And an early yellow flag will bring us back down to earth here. Quick start. But even quicker, we return to the caution. Welcoming you all to Indianapolis. If you just joined us, you haven't missed all too much. I'm David Kreutz, and very soon we'll be joined by Gary Gotso of Race First, as they're broadcasting that network soon to end Indianapolis, and already troubles brewing at the Brickyard. 3 drivers involved with our first wreck of the day. Max Molina, Dan Ench, and John Christensen, all of which on pit road with no choice, while a few drivers come in for strategy reasons. Now pit road going to be busy. You'll see Jesper Uhrmann, Sebastian Alexander, Tien Vandenveld, also Sergio Vincentini coming through together 5 laps in out of 125. All making it in at the same time. And as such, strategy already beginning to diverge from the very beginning. Some drivers coming in right now to get themselves set up for the rest of the day, and we'll see if that's the right approach as Joshua Tucker decides to stay out, and so does the rest of the top 20 and Dan Morera, who runs in 21st. Track is largely quiet once again as drivers go into this pacing. Almost everyone going to get out of the incident scot-free. Bill Colley faded back but did not get any extra damage. He's going to get back on the way, now in 27th. Biggest mover so far as it stands looks to be in the back of the field from 26th up to 19th. That is Craig Forsyth, who's gone up a total of now 7 positions. And to tie him on that note, it looks like Dan Morera is actually going to be able to outdo him by 1 spot. Morera from 29th is now up into 21st. The driver who's lost the most spots to this point has to be, currently speaking, Dan Ench, who's gone down from 14th to 28th. But of those who still have power under them, it will be Sergio Vicentini from 8th down to 14th. So up and down already for a lot of drivers. However, your top 7 from the race, they're all in the same order as they were when the race started. Liam O'Sullivan led a lap. However, he is no longer the man in charge. It is once again Joshua Tucker who holds the lead. Tucker up in front. You're looking at what's going to be a single file restart here. Drivers are not going to get into a 2x2 formation for the rest of this race. It's going to be single file starts, which hopefully will get us away from those incidents as we just saw to start this race. 6 laps in out of 125 laps on the table, and or 120 minutes, whichever comes first here in Indy. Max Molina get a disconnect from the session, the first driver of the night to go, and as such, we've got ourselves now 29 on the track, going back to John Christensen and Dan Ench, who have remained on pit road ever since the start. Julian Altena going to be backing up right now with Bruno Miranda. However, this time by everyone will come together and we will get moving to go racing once again. Going to be your first restart of the night on lap number 7 of the day, and it's going to be time to go green at Indy soon enough, as now the number 77 leads us back to the green flag. Green flag gonna fly this time through iRacing official pace car, dropping down and in. Joshua Tucker going to get to the green as your race leader. First restart of the day, and we are single file in Indy as we get things going. The Brickyard comes back to life. Fast start for your leaders. Looking further back, it'll be largely single file once again, and a little bit of 2x2 action here with Sebastian Alexander and Tine Vandenveld. However, everyone else going to get off scot-free, and not much action further throughout. You'll see there Fyodor Dovchenko is going to be in the 9th spot. Number 96 machine there running just within the confines of the top 10. Matthias Strauss and Sebastian Kinder going to connect here, and Liam O'Sullivan now going to go up to the top side. It's still Tucker with the lead, but a little bit of pressure. And O'Sullivan, he's wanted to lead this line since the beginning. Led a lap already, and he's right there with your number 77, not making it easy to get away for the race lead. He's in the slipstream here, so it's not as challenging for him to make these moves and fight for a spot. And now he'll go down and in. O'Sullivan going to make the move, get the race lead, and he's got it up in front now, 8 laps in of 125. Now going to have himself on top of the board. You'll see Joshua Tucker there in 2nd. Julian Altena going to remain 3rd, and Bruno Miranda still going to be just within the top 5. And then just behind, of course, that number 78, you will see Jonas Weber in the 75. Right now, Weber going to run just behind Miranda, and then that's in Santos. And there's the bit of a breakaway, mostly single file and drivers on their own, spread apart by 10th after 10th. Ty Richter right now, the number 30, is coming up on Gary Lovern, and we are going to see now what it's going to take for Richter to make it through in the number 34. Ty Richter, that number 30, going to be dropping down and in at the exit of turn 4, getting a little bit tight and washing up the track. Not much else he could do there, as he's going to let Gary Lovern once again get away. Close battle just behind, however, that's Pedro by Bell right now with the number 2 of Jesper Ullmann. And if these two drivers are going to be coming through, it looks like by Bell right up to the back bumper of the number 2 machine. We're going to see whether or not he gets a run here down the back straightaway to maybe get up and closer, but right now just hasn't been able to find that room and the rhythm. That's the most important thing. Something lost as well as Jonas Weber now sees a little bit of pressure. Mark Murphy stays just ahead, but number 69 remains in the 6th spot, and that's going to help out now Patrick Zilvazzi as Patrick looks down low once, maybe going to have a chance to do it twice here, but doesn't get the room and has to lie back once again. 11 laps in out of 125. Zilvazzi and Jonas Weber, they're running now just about 1/10 of a second apart, and currently this second run getting going a little bit better than the first, as it looks like one driver gonna have a lot of trouble further on back. That's a destroyed Sergio Vincentini. Destroyed it is for the number 23, and it's a single car incident, no caution to fly, but it looks like the 23's night is already over. Take a look back as out of turn number 2, Vincentini ends up destroyed. Here's a look back at what just happened. And you will see it here one more time. The number 23 of Sergio Vincentini ends up washing top and nosedives so quickly, the suspension all but destroyed, and luckily nobody else involved, but that's going to destroy the number 23's night, and as such, another driver already out of this one. Up in front, Liam O'Sullivan going to lead the way. And it's going to be Joshua Tucker right behind. As such, top two are going to remain the same here, but it's going to be Tucker dropping in to get the lead once again. At the line advantage, Tucker, and Joshua gets back up to the top spot by a total of 35 thousandths of a second. These two drivers going to be swapping the lead with each other, and I don't think it's all because they're battling for it. You do not want to use up all of your equipment by leading every single lap, so you take turns leading, going back and forth with that top spot, and that's going to allow these drivers to make the moves necessary to drive in deep and then save up their fuel at the same time. So for the top two, have been cycling back and forth. They're doing exactly what they need to reserve a little bit more for the later portion of this race. All the while, Julian Altena is definitely making moves for now, trying to push a little bit harder and make that aggression more noticeable on the drivers just in front of him, and as such, Julian now within a quarter of a second of your top two drivers. Close battle further on back. Alexander Bonney, the number 18 machine, passed by Pedro Bibel. Pedro gets through. Bonney going to be now in 21st, and as such, Jesper Werman also going to get away from the both of them. Of all the drivers in the field right now, Jesper Werman is highest up on an alternate strategy. Werman started in position number 21 on this restart. However, as it stands, running in 19th overall, started the race in 30th, and has been able to make up moves more and more ever since. So our biggest mover so far from just outside of the top 25, barely in the top 30, now finds himself within the top 20 and gaining on guys like Alaric Vandenbosch and Craig Forsyth. Forsyth right now going to be in a little bit of a battle as well. You'll see that number 99 running with Tyre Richter, and it looks like Richter falling off of Gary Lovren might be in jeopardy of losing a spot as the 63 of O'Sullivan drops down in it again. Taking a ride on board now with Joshua Tucker to find out what it's like fighting for the race lead. Liam O'Sullivan right ahead, and you'll see swooping down to the inside. There goes the 77. Tucker the race lead, and now the backside full of O'Sullivan, who's just now a tenth and a half back. O'Sullivan going to take the race lead. It's going to be a back and forth battle for this entire opening stint, and you got to wonder about that pit strategy as the race goes on. Currently thinking that if anything is going to happen, we might just see a three-stop strategy at about the 40 lap marker every time on these stints, and three-stop strategy meaning for some it will be three, for most of the field actually it would be just about a two-stop strategy, and the reason being, if you've already had one pit stop, then you've gotten that down out the way, then it will be a pit stop and maybe about lap 45 or 50. Next up would be about lap 85 and 90. Then the race will be over at 125. So I think if there is a possibility to go for a two-stopper or a three-stopper, depending on who you are, that is the optimal strategy right now. Bill Colley going to be in 26, fighting with Bart Firestein as Colley goes down to the inside in that number 31, dark blue, and to the bottom, it's going to be Colley making up a spot, and now Bart Firestein running in 26th. Of all drivers who have gotten involved in any incident so far tonight, none of which are on the track. Max Molina, the only one who was disconnected. However, everyone else still on pit road, taking extensive damage repair. Alexander Bonney going to be right now there with Dan Marrera. Cautions out again. Matthias Kraus, and a big-time incident. Drivers getting out of the way. Matthias Kraus and Gary Lovern. Yellow flags out for the second time. We are once again pacing in Indianapolis. Take a look back and we will see what just caused it. You'll see Gary Lovern involved in this one, and as Gary was going into the first two corners, that's where things got very, very tricky, and it happened so quick. As you can see, contact between these two drivers, and Lovern set up and over, and he barely hops over there. That's one driver getting away. Looked to be Craig Forsyth. We'll check back once again as everyone makes it through. Gary Lovern ends up airborne, and another driver with a huge hit. And we're going to take a look back one more time, this time on board with Lovern, and he ends up flipping over and hopping right atop the track one more time. Here's a brief look at the most recent incidents. And getting involved there, first off, going 360, hopping right up and over on the track, and one driver goes right under, and that did indeed look to be Craig Forsyth, who got just barely by, and as such, Forsyth going to make it away. One more look back for the driver who got just under the incident, and you'll see it here for the 99 of Forsyth, as it looks like the battle just beginning ahead of him, and then things got tricky very fast. And you can see here, split-second decision, stays right under. Gary Lovern hops right over. What an angle that was for Craig Forsyth. And he gets luckier than anyone else. Exact same place, except for the height. And that makes all the difference. Forsyth will live to run another lap. And pit road is busy. Joshua Tucker taking a majority of the field down and in. A few drivers opting to stay out on the track. Julian Altena and Mark Murphy, respectively. And now pit road going to be filled with drivers who are getting set. Strategy already going to be in full swing. Joshua Tucker going to be in, and so is the majority of the field here. Going to find out who makes their way out first. Pit road is going to be active as all drivers get on the way. Tucker is going to beat out Liam O'Sullivan. Top two remain the same, and it looks like then from there you'll see more drivers coming right out. Then Bruno Miranda, followed immediately by Edson Santos, Jonas Weber, Patrick Zilvazzi, Fyodor Doshenko, and Sebastian Kinder. And then from there, Matthias Strauss to round out the top 10 of those who went on to pit road. Still, 4 drivers, as a matter of fact, who decided to stay out just ahead of Joshua Tucker. They go as follows. Julian Altena, your new race leader. Then from there, Mark Murphy in second. Eric Mercado going to be third. And Bill Colley going to be fourth. It's the 1, 2, 3, 4 grouping up in front, who decided to go for a bit of a different strategy to get things going tonight. And as such, they remain on the top of the board. For Finya Nakuna, it looks like his sim just disconnected. We'll see whether or not that was an incident that got anyone else involved, but he just reported that something went wrong with his setup, and as such, his night might be over already. We'll see whether or not he can reconnect, but for Nakuna, trouble, and here's a look back as to what just happened. You can see at this point already some connection troubles, and for the driver, the number 94, he was coming through. This is a replay, mind you, of what was happening in the previous laps, and for Nakuna, comes across the stripe, no signs of a problem there, but by the end of the next lap, he was disconnected, and we'll go back live as it looks like a one-car incident there. Patrick Zilvazzi also off the circuit from what we see. Up in front, Julian Altena going to be the race leader this time by, and it's going to be 1 lap to green. Time to get things going. This time around with 22 laps on the board. It's time to figure out who's got what it takes as the drivers take it right across the stripe. Going to be 21 laps in out of 125. We're going to watch the time as well, and currently an hour and 12 minutes remain on our timing sheet. So we've got ourselves quite a lot of action to look forward to, as the estimates will show more than an hour of racing still ahead of us here. There's a session 2-hour time limit, which we also have to watch for. That's going to be another piece of essential information. 2 hours given to us with 125 laps. Sure to be an exciting showdown here, as Julian, who is second in our championship standings, now running at the front. Mind you, as we come into tonight's race, it is Bruno Miranda at the overall top of the board in the championship standings. Then you're going to see Julian and Altena Autosport, while leading the team championship, does not lead the overall drivers championship, and that's certainly something they're looking to do tonight. So we'll figure out what they can do with their flagship driver at the top of the board. Going to be now Julian in control of the race. The iRacing official pace car is going to drop down and in, and it's going to be Altona with Mark Murphy and Eric Mikado, your new top three as the green flag flies once again. Second restart of the night, and we are back on the move. Welcome back for restart number 2. Down the back straightaway, leaders get away nicely once more. Looking further back, no major trouble, and everyone gonna get away on this second restart now with 22 drivers left on the lead lap. In the early going, quite a lot of drivers having their early troubles, multiple incidents and disconnections. Looks like now Patrick Zilvazzi gonna be down and in to pit road. However, Zilvazzi's night is not over, disconnected, but just reconnected to our session. And Matthias Kraus also going to be with us as well as a disconnection. Julian and Mark Murphy now running first and second for the first time tonight. And you see Eric Mikado and Bill Colley, also drivers who have made major gains. And if we talk about the drivers where we are currently looking at right now, Bill Colley from 23rd up into 4th, Eric Mikado from 15th up into 3rd, and Mark Murphy from 7th up to the race lead for the first time tonight. Mark Murphy in the number 69 out in front. How about that for Mark Murphy taking the race lead, and as such, Julian gonna fade back in a second. One driver who dropped back pretty big on that lap looked to be further on back in the tail end of the field. You'll see drivers like Tien Vandevelde, but it looks like Pedro Bibel dropped back down the backstretch and then got back in formation. As a result, Julian now takes the lead in the turns 1 and 2, returning to the top spot, and Mark Murphy is going to be in second again. But now going to try to open up the track, go a little bit wider, and go down to that bottom side. Dan Ench is officially disconnected regarding the first incident of the day, and as such, Murphy takes the lead. Eric Mikado now putting pressure as well. We're coming out of lap number 25 out of 125 total, and Gary, the start of this race, nothing short of exciting. 2 cautions so far, lead changes and strategy all over the place. 4 drivers on old tires, and they're running in the top 4.
In the back. There was coming someone spinning off of 4.
And Alexander Bonney and Seb Alexander look to be involved in that one.
Yeah, looks like they punched out in time before it went caution there. But yeah, good to be here. Sorry a little bit late. I hope the 3-wide start was exciting. It's the most exciting start in all of motorsports is that 3-wide start. Good to see my Indiana teammate here and Murph leading. Of course, being ran down by Julian, who's no slouch here. Going to get him at the line. But we're 25 and 125 into this. So that means we are getting awfully close to pit stops. These cars only run about 30 laps or so to a stint here, which means if you do the math, they got somewhere along the lines try to save 5 laps worth of fuel in order to make this on one less stop than everybody else. So otherwise, you got to splash and go at the end. But it's going to be exciting to see how this plays out. Looking at the top 3, top 5, I see some names we normally don't see. So just indicative of some of the people that just run well at Indy.
Now, when we're talking about strategy, right now your 4 drivers at the front of the field have gone over 20 laps on their stint. Everyone else is on a strategy that only started about 5 laps ago with our most recent caution. So for Murphy, Altona, Mikado, and Bill Colley, they are at risk of having to come down a pit road before lap 40. Everyone else should be able to go about 25 laps more, as they're only now a total of 7 laps in. Sebastian Alexander going to be back on the way on a brand new stint. Looks like 35 seconds down as Alexander gets back on the move. Now going to be 21 drivers on the lead lap, and battles are still brewing. Dan Morera going to be with Pedro Bibel further on back. Mark Murphy with the lead, and for the first time tonight, Murphy and Altona up in front. Drivers who were not previously leading the way, they're going to get themselves up at the top of the board and fighting side by side with former leaders Tucker and O'Sullivan further back here. So as we look at the early complexion of this race, still just about 90 some laps to go, less than 100 now. What's it going to take to continue success if you've already done good to this point and maybe try to elevate yourself that much further?
And again, at IndyCar and especially at Indianapolis, it's all about fuel conservation and saving your equipment to the end. You know, it's just look at some of the all-time greats at the IndyCar racing when it comes to being on the top step here and a winner 4-time, Rick Mears. You never saw Rick. You saw Rick Mears very early in races, but in the middle parts of the races, he tends to go back, and then at the very end, there he is again. And he won 4 Indy 500s that way. Well, maybe 3. The 84 race, he pretty much dominated from start to finish. But yeah, you got to be there to finish first. First was finished, so you got to be there at the end. Not saying anything that is insanely insightful right now, but we got a long way to go, and these guys just need to keep it off the wall, keep their cars clean, keep it off each other, and just make it to that last 30-lap stint. That's what it is, like getting to that last 30-lap stint.
And there's a lot of time until that final 30-lap stint here. Is Julian going to drop down and in? I think most drivers understanding from lap 90 onward, it is for real here. So you do not want to mess up your equipment by getting involved in a little bit too much of an aggressive style of racing. Most drivers are separated several tenths apart, even a few drivers seconds apart. I think with the first 2 cautions, those are the warning shots tonight. Now everyone running largely in order. There's Liam O'Sullivan with points leader Bruno Miranda down to the inside. Miranda going to make a fast pass and move up to 6th here. O'Sullivan, who started up in the 2nd row and 6th tonight, he's right now going to find himself in that 6th spot. And a matter of fact, he's going to get another spot taken, perhaps by Edson Santos, who is coming up. The closest battle in the entire track right now is for the lead. Eric Mercado, Julian Altena, and Mark Murphy. And these 3 drivers are swapping the lead back and forth. I think they are saving a bit of fuel that way, but everyone wants to lead here at Indy. And these 3 drivers have gotten the chance to do so for the majority of this stint.
And that 3rd driver is getting kind of the raw end of the deal. They could benefit off the draft down the straights, as they have a choice of two big holes to really punch that they can follow through. But going through these corners, there's really only one preferred line, the bottom. Although the higher line, at least as iRacing is concerned, has kind of come in as kind of a bit of an OP line, gives you a good run down the straight. If each one of those cars, first and second, is one's at the high line, one's at the low line, that 3rd car, he's catching arrow wash either way. I mean, he's kind of screwed. So it's just keeping in the draft, making up what you lost in the corners because of you had the arrow push is really key. If he has to do a lot of lifting because of the arrow push, he's just going to fall back closer to the grasp of Collie, and then he's going to end up losing time to the leaders because he's going to be racing Collie. So he is right in that danger zone right now.
Right now, you can see Eric Mercado in a little bit of a bubble, as you mentioned. Bill Colley coming slowly but surely up into the picture, and Mark Murphy takes the lead once again. Dropping down in at number 69, going to get back to the point, and these drivers keeping each other very close now, as it looks like Alexander Bonney on pit road, Gary Lovren still getting extensive repairs, a few retirees already with Matthias Kraus, Finian Nakuna, Sergio Vincentini, Max Molina, and Dan Ench. John Christensen going to be in trouble as well, as there goes Julian back up to the top of the spots. In terms of racing position, the lead battle has been consistently the most aggressive. Sometimes we see multiple swaps in one lap alone. Rest of the field right now going to be a little bit calmer. Pedro Bibel coming up on Alaric Vandenbosch. That's the fight for about 15th here, and while they're not really tight to one another just yet, there's so much tow, and one driver who's already signaling pit in, that's going to be Julian, and it looks like the 11 due to come in this time by at the end of a 34-lap run.
All right, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. So we'll watch this pit in. There's a bit of an art to this in here in Indianapolis. So they got very thin brake discs on these cars. So they don't stop on a dime. In real IndyCar racing, they kind of pump the brakes a little bit, kind of warm them up. And then as they come on the pit road, they got to kind of lead up to the cone right there, right at the cone. Okay. If this is the IndyCar configuration of the oval, that's the NASCAR configuration. That cone is right there at pit entry. So that would have been really impossible or very, very hard to bring the cars down from 200 plus down to, I think, pit road speed of 55 or 60. This at least gives them a little bit of a run-in to do that. So now they hit their stalls, right, each one of them there. Got some other cars coming off of pit road. Pneumatic jacks on these cars, so they don't have jack band that come over and jack up the car. Unless they're broken, they do have manual jacks they can do that with. 4 tires, fuel, and down. So now we're looking at their next stop occurring. If they went 34 laps on that run, give or take, we're looking at about lap 70 or so for their next stop. Then after that, we're looking at lap 105 for their next stop, and then they're probably good to go from home at that point forward. So they only should be able to do this in one less stop than everyone else, because I think you said they stopped a little bit earlier on one of the earlier cautions.
They stopped about 10 laps ago, yes.
Yeah, so that kind of alleviates the splash at the end, I believe, for them.
That's for the majority of the field, as you mentioned. For Julian and company, who stayed out longer, they're in a bit of a different situation. For Bill Colley, he's going to have to come in about 5 laps. I think Eric Mikado, time is ticking, maybe a lap or 2 from now. If not now, yep, there he goes.
So Colley's going to get some TV time and lead at the world's greatest race course, which doesn't matter where you are in the lineup. It's always thrilling. Right behind him is Josh Tucker and the new IAR entry for Tucker. So he's on that IAR squad. And now Bruno moves Bruno Miranda, the Storm, up to P3.
So a new top 3 up in front. Bill Colley still has to pit, and Bruno Miranda now fighting with Liam O'Sullivan for the final spot on the podium currently. This will end up being about the fight for second, but O'Sullivan being blocked every which way. Miranda not getting up that position. Bruno, already your points leader, knows how big a deal it will be to win at Indianapolis with such a strong first half from Miranda. Now coming back to wind the season down until we, of course, find our final race in the 1st of June. It's going to be a final 2-month dash till the checkered flag of season 11, and it's been a fantastic one to this point. And Miranda, the dominant man, he'll back off for this position in particular. He's down to 4th.
Liam found the high line, a little OP right now, got the run on the high side right there in front of the Riley Children's Hospital suites. And Bruno saw it, and he could not, he had to let go. Otherwise he was going to squash the car in front of him. We're going to battle for the lead here coming down the main straight here with Tucker. But Bruno lost 2 positions because Santos got around him as well.
And now Bill Colley going to face some pressure from the race lead. It's going to be Tucker who gets the spot. Colley, more often than not now, going to be fading back in time, and his older tires might be wearing him out here. He's got to eventually come down to pit road. Not much else he can do for now. So it looks like it's going to be Julian now fighting with Sebastian Alexander further in the field. And the second pack going to see some drivers on new tires and old. You can see right now Alexander, Bart Firestein all together 16th and 17th respectively. Then you see Dan Herrera right there with Team Vandervelde and Pedro by Bell. And there's a 3-car mix-up right here, 12th to 14th, and Bill Colley does come down and in. So 39 laps in out of 100, coming to lap 40, or rather out of 125. Colley is in for the first time, and the longest driver to run it there as he makes it through. So Tucker now has the lead. O'Sullivan is in second, and Edson Santos, we haven't mentioned him, but he's been gaining about a half a second every lap on Tucker. Now he's right behind your top 2, and as such, he's going to find himself there inside the podium, now making more gains as your new leaders battle each other.
Interesting, I watched Colley's pit stop, and he didn't go for tires. He only went fuel only. Interesting. But since he went fuel only, it didn't save him any time, because it's still the same amount of time to fill up. You could put new tires on in 5 seconds on these cars. So he didn't really save himself some time, although he must feel comfortable with those really old tires right now. So interesting.
So Colley back on the way right now, going to be scored in 20th behind Eric Mikado. Going to cycle out just in between Ty Richter and Eric Mikado. As it stands, of all drivers on new rubber, it will be Julian who has the advantage. Then you look back to Mark Murphy, who was about half a second behind. So Julian right now, of all those who was on a strategy to go the end of the way, right now leading those who are still on the track with older rubber. They're still fighting each other ahead. And Liam O'Sullivan once again drops back. The number 63 runs in second here. See another group of close battles. A few rookies who are coming up inside the top 10. Jonas Weber in the number 75 and Fyodor Dovchenko in 6th. They're now running rookies just within the confines of the top 5. And even though Fyodor is not there, Jonas is. And they're right now both catching up to Bruno Miranda, which may make good for a battle here. We had 8 rookies register for this race, and now, although not all of them are still going, they're giving a good fight as Sebastian Alexander is with Julian and Mark Murphy, and it's now the closest fight in the field. Julian got a lot of pressure as You can see Sebastian Alexander and Mark Murphy both coming closer now. It's a gap of about 8/10 between 4 drivers here, and they are getting even tighter down the straightaways.
Murph to the inside in 3. Might go 2 for 1 here, and I think he's gonna. Yeah, he clears him into the short chute. So this is the north end of the racetrack. Indianapolis Motor Speedway sits...
Matthias Strauss has trouble. The number 8 is going to end up in the wall and parked.
Ooh.
So we got an incident here. Nobody else involved. It's Matthias Strauss and the number 8. Take a look back here, and we'll see what caused it.
It's like a turn 2 wall. Oh, got loose. Got loose. Might even clip the apron just a little bit. Let's see here. And loose, just loose.
Very similar incident to what we just saw before, and just like that, a second driver to fall victim to getting loose out of 2, and no caution going to fly as a result. Looked like Sergio Vincentini's incident about 15 laps prior. He ended up in the wall and ended up out of the race immediately thereafter. So another driver facing
kind of
trouble.
reminded me of Arena's VK wreck from last season, I think. Maybe 2 seasons ago at the 500. Just got to the back end, gets away, tries to catch it, steer into it, and then after that you run out of room, which you don't have a lot of room here at Indianapolis. That everything's so narrow as
Another
it is.
driver destroyed. Tyler
What
Richter
the
up
heck
and
happened
over.
there? Wow, and that better be a caution.
And
Yeah.
that it is. And for Richter, that was so violent. Much like Max Molina's flip, we saw a somersault already. We saw a driver fly over Craig Forsyth's car. Richter looked to be alone when it started. He wasn't alone when this wreck ended up a caution. So we're taking a look back right now.
Yeah, I don't even think he lifted when he smacked the wall. He goes to the inside retaining wall, and thank God this is sim racing, because if that was real racing, we're looking at a very potentially serious situation here. Oh, and he goes right into the tire barrier. Yeah, it just happened so quickly. There's a tire barrier wall there, temporary wall that separates the oval from the infield road course, and that oof.
Richter destroyed, and to add to that, the tire ends up flying right at the drivers. Luckily, no other contact, but that was a very, very dangerous spot for all the drivers there, and you're right about that. Luckily, this is not anything out of the sim. Tyre Richter destroyed. Caution is out again. This is our 3rd yellow flag of the day here, Gary, and as such, a chance for drivers to come down to pit road. I'm expecting to see Joshua Tucker and company make their way down and in, and we'll see if someone like Julian opts to go in as well, although I feel that won't be the case. So we're going to see
with
pit
the
road
tire,
get busy.
with the tire limits, I don't. They still have. I think that's a rule. I'll double check. But I think they have 5 sets. So 1 on the car, then 4 in the pits. And if he just put on a new set, and he is only 11 laps into the current stint, and he's staying out. Yeah, I wouldn't pit just because of the tire limit situation.
With that being said, Julian going to assume the lead once more with Mark Murphy.
6 sets. So 1 on the race car when you start, and then 1 or 5 more in the pits. So Julian is going to be. I think he's going to go to the lead because I don't think he fell off the lead lap. So he Murphy and Mikado will assume the top 3 spots again, and the rest will have fresh tires behind them. Now, fresh tires, very short in the run, would have a benefit for these guys. But aero wash is the great equalizer here in Indianapolis. So Tucker needs to get out in front of everybody, which he has, and then on this restart, immediately dispatch Mikado. I mean, he cannot wait any time to get around Mikado, and then try to get to Murphy and Altena before the goodness of his tires run out, which it will. It only takes a lap or 2 here before you're really running on tires that are starting in a degraded state.
3 drivers on old rubber. Mikado on the youngest of which for those who stayed out because he ends up on a 10-lap stint. Murphy and Altena on a 12-lap stint. Joshua Tucker, Liam O'Sullivan, Edson Santos come first through third out of pit road. Some of our quick drivers all throughout this race, however, are pole sitter back in front temporarily as they come across the line for the cycle. Julian going to be scored as a leader once again. So going to be 1 lap to green this time by, and we get back going with 49 laps on the clock. Of course, we've still got 2 hours of the session, so keep your eyes peeled for how drivers are going to look at that all throughout. However, I think we're in good shape to go the entire race.
Yeah.
Time shouldn't be much of an issue.
No, I think they'll be able to go the distance.
As such, everyone getting set up again. Julian going to be first. Single file restart for the 3rd time tonight. Right now, 19 drivers are on the lead lap going back to Bill Colley. And it looks like now Bill on the youngest set of rubber of every driver as Ty Richter will disconnect. So Colley getting back with the pack here. Going to be 19 drivers to look out for on the lead lap. Patrick Zilvazzi is still driving after a connection error. 2 laps down. Matthias Strauss is 5 down on pit road. However, still looks to be active service here, so Strauss's night is not done. For Gary Lovern and John Christensen, they're effectively done here, but still connected on the circuit. So we'll see whether or not they try to come back on. However, they both have been on pit road now for longer than 25 minutes. For John Christensen, he's been on pit road for 40 minutes now, so the longest of any driver. He spent almost the entire race off of the circuit.
Yeah, tough day for Team VOR. 3 cars already out of the 5. But we're getting ready to go green. We're not getting ready to say that the speedway is set directly in line with north, south, east, and west. So we're on the north side of the racetrack right here, going into North Short Chute, turn 4, right here. On the other side of turn 4 is a big parking lot where they have a party night before the 500. Coming down the main street, this parallels Georgetown Road. And now once this pace car gets off the track, goes behind those attenuator, Julian's going to go, and he's on it now.
Julian gets the field moving for lap number 49, brings Mark Murphy quickly with them. Joshua Tucker falls back big on Mikado. Can't quite do anything with Eric there, Gary. It looks like now Joshua going to drop back Liam O'Sullivan in 5th as well. Single file start, everyone gets away. Trouble already for Bart Firestein. He goes all the way down to the apron. It looks like he pulls away from it just fine. We'll take a look at a very fast replay here because it looks like he has trouble.
Exactly. Yeah, this is what happens on a restart. You got to be prepared for your car to be loose on the restart. And it's physics. It's your car's not up to speed. You don't have all the downforce that are impacting you, but you probably still have your tools all set to help your car turn. So normally on a start, you want to dial back your tools a little bit so you don't get loose in 1. You can make it through 2, and while you're on the backstretch, quickly adjust your tools. By the time you get to 3, you'll be mostly up to speed. So you can get through 3 with the tool set that you want. So by the time you get to turn 1 again, you're at full speed. So that makes sense. This is Bart's done this a number of times. He probably should have known that was an issue. But normally when I'm on a team speak with my drivers in the 500, whether it be TMH or I'm spotting, I always remind them, be careful of the car, loosen 1 on restarts. That is a constant problem with this track and this car.
For most other drivers to get away from it, but that in-car adjustment that you mentioned, all of them very big in terms of the high-speed scenario and the low-speed. So unfortunately there for Firestein, we're going to fade out of the pack about 6.5 seconds behind Bill Colley right now. 19th on the lead lap. Didn't look like major damage, but I think the tires are definitely scuffed. Not much you can do right now unless there were to be another caution. Jonas Weber right now with Edson Santos, as this is the battle for now about 6th. The leaders are running away. Mark Murphy and Julian once again assume control, and they are on a 12-lap older stint than that of the rest of the field, so not as big a deficit of about 20-plus laps as it was before, but for the drivers up ahead, still definitely a different strategy. Might not be the one that works out as it stands. Altena going to take the lead again. Mark Murphy going to be in 2nd, and 3rd then going to be Eric Mikado. 1-2-3 combo, and it looks like Mikado now gaining a little more. That time by the quickest of the 3 up in front. Joshua Tucker still not gaining on, as it looks like now Mark Murphy drops low, takes the lead again. Quick swap, and the 69 in the lead, and we've seen Julian and Mark working together nicely through these opening laps of a stint again, all the while the rest of the field is fading back and fast.
Watching a battle between Kinder and Jesper. Jesper's in a new livery. He normally, his old livery kind of reminded me of the state flag of Indiana, the way that he had it painted, but now he's kind of in a blue camo type of livery. Interesting look for him, but he had the high side on Seb Kinder on the south end of the racetrack through 1 and 2 in the south chute. Ooh, Craig Forsyth might have kissed a turn 4 wall, but it looks like he had a bit of a run on the high side coming out of 1 into the short chute, and Kinder slammed the door on him.
And watching Kinder and Orman right now, this battle's been brewing for a few laps, and a close call there, as you mentioned, Gary, as they come across the start-finish line once again. Kinder's still going to be just in front of Orman, but there goes Jesper. Down to the bottom side, it's going to be Kinder going deep. You can see side by side, Orman going to be right within the confines of Bruno Miranda, too. And now Bruno involved in this fight. He's going to block down to the bottom, nearly clipping that apron, but he gets it going.
I think Bruno lost some momentum. I think Santos did the old Brazilian clear on him, and as soon as he became clear, just immediately dropped in front of him, and I think caused Bruno possibly to check up. And now Bruno, you lose the big mo around here. Oh, look at Jesper way up high. In real IndyCar racing, that would have been a sure wreck, but you could do that here in the sim. Bruno had lost the big mo, and now all of a sudden he's back into the clutches of Kinder.
And now it looks like Sebastian going to go down on the inside. Seb looking low. Bruno Miranda going to remain right up top. And as such, going to be the number 97 facing once more. There goes Jesper Orman. Jesper down to the bottom side, looking to take that spot away. He's got it low. Maybe not going to be enough on the follow through. Very close between the both of them there.
Yeah, he got a wicked push. He has the run though. He's gonna get there. The problem is when he pulls out to make the pass, that Kinder's still in the draft of Miranda. There he goes. He's going to try to make it work because Miranda then will come down and he'll be able to get the pull there of the draft from that. If he didn't pull down, he would have not got that position cleared. But to move Jesper now up to 9th.
Orman gets inside the single digits on that move, still following another battle just ahead. Jonas Weber and Edson Santos, they're close to one another. Leaders have continued fighting, but it's
Jesper! Got loose off of 3. That lucky that pit access road was there. He catches it. He's back, but he's going to lose some precious spots. Got to fight back up to the front again.
Pedro Bibel going to make it by Orman down to 14th on that lap, and he's going to drop back big from where he was at about 9th. Not good in the slightest. Fyodor Dovchenko going to get through. So does Dan Morera. Morera in the 40 racewear, number 26, going to be coming down to the inside here on Dovchenko, and it's going to be now a move low. Just can't quite complete it. Backs off, and going to wait once again to try for the opportunity. Also, Craig Forsyth coming through. He's in 10th now. Bruno Miranda about 1.2 seconds ahead, and you can see Morera going a little bit up higher relative to Orman. Nothing yet, and it looks like now Morera going to look low on Dovchenko, and yes, Orman decides to stay up top side by side, and it looks like a little bit of a lift from Morera. He gets loose and loses time.
Those tires are not lasting as long as these guys would like, I think. Take a look at the weather. It's 101 degrees track temp, so track temp is up there. I've seen much hotter, much hotter before. I've seen 120, 130 before, and the fixed Indy 500 that I was in was 122 plus. The track temp's not that bad. The ambient, not bad at all, 66 Fahrenheit, so there shouldn't be any heat issues, but I think maybe what they're doing is they're leaning a little bit more on the weight jacker than they should, and that's probably what's causing these little bits of loose incidences on corner exit, and that's where you'll see a weight jacker. When you add too much weight jacker, you're going to get loose off corner exit.
For the time being, your leaders have been the most stable of any group. Eric Mercado now going to be towed right into Mark Murphy and Julian Altena. Julian low, And looking to make that move once again, 60 laps in out of 125. We are coming up close to our halfway point here already. And it looks like for now, Julian, Mark Murphy, and Eric Mercado have made this alternate strategy work out. About 10 more laps in this stint at the very most. They'll be coming into pit road at about lap number 70. And then their final pit stop of the day will be about lap 100. So they're not terribly off cycle, and they should have the same number of pit stops relative to everyone else. But they are coming in later, which means that at the end of the day, they're going to have newer tires when all is said and done. For a very short period, then the rest of the field will come back and get them again. Bruno down to the inside, but Bart Firestein has trouble too. And again, Bart going to lose a lot of time. 7 seconds on that lap, but he's still alone. Nobody else involved there. He'll get back on the way as Orman going to have to lose a spot again. Seb Kinder moves up to 10th.
Yeah. Jesper tried to follow through that group and didn't go for him. Now he's on the inside, on the outside, trying to make a pass. Meanwhile, Kinder's in the draft of Forsyth, and that's not going to help Orban at all. But he hangs it to the bottom, gets his wheels almost down to where the old rumble strips used to be on that concrete. He pulls off the pass there.
A very close battle just behind, going to be Pedro Bibel and Fyodor Dovchenko. You can see the 96 all in green at the high side, taking the spot there from Bibel with a little bit of smoke, and that's all from Bart Firestein, who looks to be now down on pit road. 62 laps in out of 125. When we come across the line this time by, it is going to be 62 laps remaining. So we are now at the middle of this race, and it's going to be Mark Murphy who leads us back to the line. It looks like he might get the halfway lap. Not if Julian has anything to say about it. Down to the inside at the line. Minor advantage to Julian. 10 1,000ths of a second. Now we're in the halfway zone. 63 laps remaining. Murphy second, Mercado third, Joshua Tucker fourth, and Liam O'Sullivan is in fifth. Just like that, we're on to the final half of this race, and first half quite quick, all things considered. Few incidents, but with that being said, we've moved on, and now it's the home stretch, although we still got a ways to go.
So they should be looking at pit stops here for Murphy and Julian about any time. Now, there was a caution involved in there after their stops. So maybe they go 35, 36 on the stint. So maybe another 5 or 6 more laps. We'll see. We'll see. I figured it'd be right around 70. So we're getting into that neighborhood.
And that we are very close to that lap number 70 point you've been mentioning here, and I think that's when we're seeing the first wave of pit stops. Expect them to come from about lap 70 to maybe up to 85. That's a very wide range, but that's the difference of tires here that the drivers in the rest of the field have, like Tucker, O'Sullivan, Weber, and Santos. They're leading a large group of drivers who have been on a younger stint of rubber, and as such, their Firestone's not as worn out as the rest of the field. Of course, running through 18 laps in on their stint, expecting them to go 30, 35 laps, so we should have about 17 more laps to go. That would lead us to about lap number 83 when all is said and done for this strategy. Now Julian side by side with Mark Murphy again. These drivers have been the story of this race as they've gone back and forth consistently. Mark Murphy and Eric Mercado, we're seeing a signal from them to go down the pit road. Is it current? Yes, it is.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, they come through.
Nope. A bit of a pump fake there from Josh. I think maybe he was trying to follow the draft of them coming off and realize what they're doing. But so they're all hitting pit road at the same time. So they only went 30 laps. And Mercado is actually pitting early. So it's going to be a shorter fill for him. We might actually see him make a jump in position here, at least on one car. We'll see. But this will then put the next stop here at 96 for these guys. Here comes Mercado. He's done first. Yeah, and he got Julian. So, yeah, just as I thought, he jumped one because he pitted 2 laps earlier, and it's a shorter fill for him. And it proves that way if you look at the numbers in the box. Mercado was 8.8, where Murphy was 8.4. or 9.3, excuse me, and Julian was 9.5. So that's the difference of a shorter fill for you.
And just like that, it's going to be now Mark Murphy leading this very small group on the strategy. Eric Mercado going to be now second of which, then it's going to be third, Julian Altena. So now look back in front, you're going to see Liam O'Sullivan, Joshua Tucker, Jonas Weber, your new top three with 59
they're
laps
right
to go.
Right, and the leaders are right behind the guys that just came off of pit road. So these guys really, really want to hustle to stay ahead of this group. And the one thing nice about Indianapolis is that it's big enough, depending on your placement to the leaders, you can pit and not lose a lap. So they managed to do that, but they still need to hustle because these guys have the aid of multiple cars in a pack to help the draft down the straights, whereas these guys, the leaders or the guys that just stopped on pit road on that alternate strategy, are still trying to come up to speed.
Right now, O'Sullivan and Tucker, your leaders, coming across the line. Now Tucker drives low. Edson Santos doing the same to Jonas Weber, trying to get that third spot. 57 laps remain. Taking a ride on board with Santos, and you'll see what it's like in the heat of this battle. He's got to look up ahead of him, and now he'll dive deep on Weber. Bottom side, can't quite get the move done. It's going to be Weber with the momentum up top to make the pass stick once again. Not at all with the number 75, but of course like to see, but he's still been able to fend off Santos quite well so far. Fifth gear, Santos gonna run through turn 3 and gonna have to back off a little bit more to set up that run once again. Eric Mercado with Mark Murphy, they're gonna be side by side, and Mercado not playing around in this run. He gets back in front of Murphy too. Julian now down to third in this stint, and it's going to be Eric Mercado ahead of Mark Murphy. Implications for the rest of this race, so watch out and see as Eric gets in front of both Murphy and Julian in the same run.
Yeah, and so what you see happening here is Julian is getting a little bit of the medicine that he and Murphy were serving up to Mercado earlier. Mercado was that third car, and it was really hurting him to kind of keep up with that group. Now these two are giving that same medicine back to Julian, and he's going to struggle to try to keep up. Murph, high, super high on the banking there at 3 and 1 and 2, or the short chute and 2. So right here, this backstretch is a 5/8 of a mile backstretch. It separates the infield from right next to the road. The track there is a Brickyard Crossing golf course. So the backstretch separates the main part of the course from the infield portion of the course, which takes up 3 holes on the infield portion of the speedway there. It's the home course for the Speedway High School. They're known as the Spark Plugs. That's their mascot. And that's their home course they play on when they play high school golf.
There's like a few drivers coming oh so close to that golf course here. A few drivers coming out of pit road. Forsyth and Miranda just made their way in after about 25 laps on this run. So unlike the previous group of Alta and company, these drivers are not stretching it too far. And now Tucker and O'Sullivan are coming up again on drivers who are definitely cutting it close in terms of staying on the lead lap. The Ryder Engineering number 63 at the top of the board. Once again, the 11th running of the Velocity Online Racing Indianapolis 500 kilometer presented by our friends at Ryder Engineering. We thank them dearly for their immense support in bringing this event to you today from the virtual Brickyard. Now Liam O'Sullivan running very well behind Joshua Tucker, so keep in mind the Ryder guys who are running up in the front of the field. Tucker gets the top spot back. Jonas Weber, the rookie, is in third, and there's a lot of storylines still coming out of the drivers who are remaining on the circuit. 17 on the lead lap, and a night of attrition here in the Brickyard, seeing the few who have survived, the best of which remain on course for a good run. Now down to the low side, Joshua Tucker looking for the lead once again. One story you got to look out for are the drivers who just came off of pit road, Miranda and Forsyth. They're right there behind Julian and Mark Murphy and even Eric Mercado. And as such, you can see Miranda going to get a little bit up to the top side, lose that control, get back on the way. Everyone looking to circle out, or cycle out, shall we say, right around this area. And when we see the entire pit cycle conclude, the big question is, will Mikado have the overall lead, or will someone else have a chance to take it from him?
Also involved in this matter is Jesper Orman. He just popped into it all of a sudden. So it's when we go through the next round of pit stops, it's going to cycle Murphy, Mikado, Altena, Orman, Miranda, Forsyth, Alexander, all to the front.
And with all these drivers already having their pit stops, you mentioned that soon we'll see most others come down a pit road, slow down. We are 28 laps into this stint for your leaders, 75 laps in. Expect pit stops at around lap 80 at the latest, maybe 85. However, for O'Sullivan right here, down to the inside, I think he's more occupied by what's happening right beside him with Joshua Tucker. Even Weber here, no signals have been given from these drivers that they will come down a pit road. We'll have to wait and see when they decide to do so. As they come across the stripe again, nobody decides to dive in. Mark Murphy side by side with Eric Mikado once more. Can't quite make the pass, and Eric remains right ahead. Looking at all the side-by-side battles, Tucker and O'Sullivan remain first and second here. And this time by, it's Tucker once again with the advantage as we are coming to our 30th lap with this stint.
So I think if Weber is able to, he and Santos are probably the two that are able to save the most fuel on this stint, just simply staying where they are. With O'Sullivan and Tucker racing, they're constantly in the draft, out of the draft, hitting the brick wall of air, not hitting the brick wall of air, not helping their mileage any. So I would see if possibly Weber and Santos can go an extra lap longer. Maybe they could turn down the engine map to say 2 or 3 and just kind of cruise. I think they need to be a higher map to any higher than 3. They're conserving more fuel, but I don't think they'll have the pace to continue keeping up with these twos. So they probably want to dial it down just a tick, but stay within view and stay within that draft envelope. Maybe get an extra lap out of this run. So we're on lap 30, so we're right in that neighborhood of where these two guys at the lead are going to pit. In fact, everybody in this first 10 from Collie on up to the leader. We're at 30 laps on this stint, so they are in the neighborhood of stopping any time.
3 drivers have come down and in so far. Tien van der Velde, Fyodoshenko, and Alrik Vandenbosch coming in on their 30th laps, all in unison.
Yep.
And as such, that's the first group to come in here, Gary. One driver going to get loose on their own right behind the leaders, and the rest of the field looks to be good to go here. Bill Colley coming up in 8th. By Bell, looks like he's tapped the wall just a bit, but he'll keep going. And now, you got to wonder, how much longer will Tucker and company stretch it? Jonas Weber giving the signal he's coming down this time, and so does the rest of the top 3.
Now, so get down, hit that mark, don't get run into. Everybody safely on the pit road. Make sure to remember the pit road rules here at VOR. You can't run on that inside lane until you're 2 or 3 or 4 away from your stall, and then you can only use that inside lane to come up to speed briefly, but then you have to get right out to that outside lane. You can't run through brick pit road like you see in a lot of fixed races. Simultaneously, everybody up on the jacks, those first 3 cars, synchronized, down and away, waiting for the fuel, precious drops. Now, so in real IndyCar racing, though, those are gravity-fed fuel tanks from pit road. So there comes the leaders. Those are the guys that are going to be the leaders over the cycle, like as we said. So as the race goes on and the fuel gets lower and lower in those tanks, there's less weight and gravity pushing down those remaining gallons of fuel in there. So fuel flow later in the race is actually slower than it is earlier in the race in real IndyCar racing. I don't think that's reflected here in the sim, but it's a fact in real IndyCar racing.
And right now, we're watching Weber, who just got out of pit road. A few others just came in here. Dan Morera, Edson Santos together, 80 laps in. And your new race leader looks to be now Julian, as Pedro Bibel is down at pit road. And we mentioned it, and it looks like it happened. They've cycled out now to the lead with a 14-lap run so far for Julian, 9 laps for Forsyth and Miranda. And your first driver on brand new rubber, Joshua Tucker.
So yeah, Orman up there. Pedro's still the leader, but he's on pit road, so he's going to lose that when he is down. He's now down the way, but he's going to lose that right there, and he gets passed on the main straight by Murphy or Tenna, who's ever kind of leading coming off of 4. Back when before the most recent pave job for the Speedway was 96. But before that, it was a while. And I remember as a kid going to the Speedway, and when those cars would, for practice, man, Murphy almost hit a wall arrow push, and he had to lift a little bit, and that's what gave Orman the opportunity to make the pass. But when these cars would go around, they would smack that yard of bricks at the start-finish line. It sounded like a gun going off. It was a big old pop sound. It's no longer there anymore, but I just remember it as when you went to the track, it was always one of the highlights of watching the cars go by. They're always so loud, and when they hit that little part of bricks there, that little yard of bricks, an additional pop would go off.
And right now,
so Orman's in the lead. Yeah.
There goes Jesper up to the top, and he's going to take it from the 3 drivers we thought were surefire candidates to lead the next about 10 or 15 laps. Now it is Jesper Orman up in front. However, I still got to look back here and wonder, with the final few laps coming, how good of a spot are these drivers in relative to guys like Tucker, O'Sullivan, Weber and company, who are looking to go for about 25 more laps. They should be coming in at about the 17 lap to go mark. I don't expect drivers to go the full 30 now, given how close we are to the end of this race. So I think a bit of a difference in attitude now. It's going to be a bit of a switch up, shall we say, as drivers understand you can't really go the full distance and expect to be optimized. You have 43 laps to go. Most drivers are at least halfway in their stint. Maybe now the sweet spot for the rest of the pit window is from 30 to go to 20 to go. Nothing more, nothing less. I think right now you got to moderate when you come in. That's the most important part. As you see, single file line. It looks like about 13 drivers in connection with your leader, Jesper Orman, with firm control over the field.
Lap 95 is a magic number. So that lap 9, whoever stops there and after can make it to the end. So Orman now is 16 laps on his current stint on 84. So if I go 84 plus 16, he'll be pitting right around a lap 100, and then that will be his final stop.
Orman should be good to go, much like just about everyone in the field. For Altena and Mark Murphy, their next pit stops will be with those same estimates, lap 98. If everyone makes it past 95, they're good to go here. And it looks like, Gary, everyone should be able to do that from top to bottom on the lead lap.
Even at 98, they should still be able to make it to the end but they're going to have to really make a full tank. Pretty close to it. It's going to be like 80% full. More than that, maybe. But you're really looking at the cream coming to the top now. Orman, Murphy, Altena, Forsyth, Miranda. Although nothing against Mikado. Mikado's done an awesome job. I think a lot of that has been smart driving and smart strategy. And then it doesn't hurt when you follow Julian and Mark. Those two know what they're doing.
And you got to wonder now with Eric Mikado, is he laying back intentionally here, or simply just people cycling out with a little more power as they came by him? I think he's still in a good spot. I mean, 6th is by no means not a far drop, but at the same time, he's not trailing Altena and Murphy directly here. That might mess with the rest of his race, shall we say.
I don't think he needs to save unless he needs to pit before lap 90. If he needs to pit before lap 90, then he needs to save.
Estimates are showing he should go past 95 easily, going up to lap 98.
95, yeah.
So with that being said, I don't know if Mikado's thinking of something different, or he's used up his stuff much more than the drivers ahead of him, but he should be fine to get all the way there. However, he is driving a little bit more on the conservative side. There goes Tucker. Joshua is now up into 6th as Mark Murphy takes the lead back from Jesper Orman. It's Murphy to the points.
Yeah, so it's 95. I misspoke it. So I said 90. But if he can make it to 95, then he's good to go. I imagine he's pushing.
Now Orman going to take that lead right back. Bruno Miranda up into 4th. Craig Forsyth is up into 5th. Forsyth and Jesper Orman are your 2 biggest movers in this race. Orman has gone from 30th up into 1st. Orman was the final driver to start in this race. He is up from last to 1st. And Craig Forsyth, 26th up to 4th. By no means is he being a slouch tonight either. Big moves for those 2 drivers, but Orman has made up every spot possible, and now he leads the way from the very back of the field. He has done what looked to be impossible to start, and now he is on top. A 10th of a second ahead now of Mark Murphy. All the while, Julian remains in 3rd here. A few close battles. There's Eric Mercado with Joshua Tucker. Looks like Mercado looking to take that spot back, and that he will. Jesper Orman.
Yeah, so, let me cut you off. Let me cut you off. I was just doing some number crunching. So, what really is going to be what might cost Mercado and Julian and Murphy the race is that they have to get a longer fill than everybody else, and those are going to be a crucial couple of seconds where the other drivers don't have to fill as much. So I would say right now they are not in a position to win. They're in a good position. They're not in a good position. They need a caution in order for everybody to come down pit road, and then they can hold on to their position. But I think if they do green flag stops, I think they're going to lose positions.
Well, with that being said, you got to wonder, is that when Mark Murphy's letting Jesper Orman go? Maybe a little bit of fuel saving in play there, or is it just too little to really make any difference? If you can make it to 95, there's no point in fuel saving. If you could go past, maybe make it to if anything past 95, it would be a slightly shorter fill. So if they could save a little bit, that would be helpful. But they're still going to get more fuel added to their cars than everyone else around them by a considerable margin. So I think these guys are going to lose positions when we see the pit stops. I could be wrong. We'll see. We'll watch. But they're going to be coming to pit road here. Mikado certainly, Julian and Murph, probably the next 5 to 6 laps. So they're going to get right in that 30 neighborhood. One driver going to be in big trouble. We might just see a caution. And it's going to be Jonas Weber up and over. He does not go, but Weber going to be spinning around. Caution's out.
All right, that's exactly what Julian and Murph and Mikado needed, because everyone's going to make pit road. This should be, even with the caution laps, final stops for everybody. And then now we're not looking at fuel mileage race. We're looking at a race to the end. But these guys are going to have to conserve a little bit of fuel under caution here, just to make sure they have that little bit extra edge. But let's see what happened to so he was all by himself
and ended up losing at a 2, a very similar incident to previous ones, but this time he does get extra contact, and it looks like it was the 97 of Seb Kinder who finishes him off.
He just really missed. And he almost drove up on Kinder. Bleibel had his life just cross in front of his eyes right there. He just missed the turn in to turn 2. I mean, there's nothing else to it. I mean, he just utterly missed the turn in to turn 2. He didn't even hit the line. Maybe he had an equipment failure, something we don't know about, but it wasn't even close.
Pedro Bleibel getting very lucky there, as you mentioned. The gap between these two drivers, I think about a foot made the difference there. And Bleibel,
that in-car from Bleibel,
gets away.
Watch this. Whoa, his whole life goes just right. He sees his birth, sees all his birthdays, kids being born, graduation, marriages, death. He just watches his whole life flash before his eyes right there.
Well, he's still alive here, and he's going to come down to pit road with everyone except for Joshua Tucker. He's going to stay up in front. Mark Murphy goes down low. That's interesting. Tucker might have just changed the entire race here. Not quite sure what the call is.
He might think he can make it, or he's banking on some more cautions. So in front of him is 10, and so 10 is going to get the wave around. Or wait a minute, actually, he might pit next time by because only the pit road was open to only people on the lead lap. So we'll see. He might actually duck in next time. And Collie, I think he's banking on some more caution too. So they're 14 laps, both of them. And let's say they just stay at 6. So we're at lap 93, coming to 94 plus. I don't know. I think they need to stop again. I think they're banking on more caution. Just me.
That might be the case. I don't see any other possibility for them to make it all the way. That would be a 47-lap stint, and that's just not possible given what we've seen so far tonight. Cautions breed cautions, but we've only so far seen 4 tonight, and we had a very long green flag run there of over 50 laps. So we haven't seen much caution in this race, historically speaking, but there's always an opportunity here, and it looks like down and in, there's going to be one driver making the move, but of course, Tucker and Collie, they decide to stay out, and that is where they will be. 32 laps to go. This time by coming to 31. Well, it's time to figure out what happens here for the drivers who are doing something much different. Everyone else should be good to go all the way, as we mentioned. Collie and Tucker are the big question marks here. I think we still don't quite understand what the plan is. "32 laps remain as we go through this time by. Down the back straightaway, Gary. This could perhaps be the final restart of the day. Strategy almost entirely complete unless we do get another caution. Team Van de Velde going to disconnect here. We're down to the final stretch. I don't know what we're going to expect here, but strategy should be out the window. It's all going to come down to, could be a dogfight with all chips on the line. It could be full aggression here, or we could see a little more nuance if the yellow flag falls again. Could go either way.
So everyone's taking that familiar position up against the wall to protect that right side of their race car from being passed when we come to green. So the farthest back anyone's come to win a 500 has been 28th. So Jesper's got his work cut out for him. 28th twice. The inaugural winner, Ray Haroon, won from 28th spot. His biggest advantage in that particular race, I don't know if you know this, but Ray Haroon did not have a relief driver or a riding mechanic because he didn't need one, because he actually drove one of the cars with the very first rear view mirrors attached to it. That's what the riding mechanic was for back in the day. He's also kind of a spotter. Ray did not need that. He was able to save on the weight with the mirror instead, and now, well, everybody drives with a mirror now.
And right now, mirror is going to be full for Joshua Tucker. That's Bill Collie right behind. Top 2 run away on that restart here. We're going to come down with only 30 laps remaining. Question marks get ahead. Yes, but we're on with Mark Murphy.
He's going to do a Rick Mears on him going into 1. Mears and Andretti from 91, side by side in the short chute. Gives him a little bit of a crowding. It's going to make Tucker's entry the too shallow. Still on the high side. Unable to pull it off, just like from Mears and Andretti and 91. Still side by side down the backstretch. Yeah, Louis Meyer, the 3-time Indy 500 winner, was the other one that came from farthest on back. Brazilian clear for Tucker. He slams the door on Collie. I'm sure he didn't like that. Neither one of them like that, I'm sure. Collie's going to stay high to the inside. Goes Tucker. Collie's going to now peek down now. He left the door open up high for Jesper. Jesper will take it.
And as such, Joshua Tucker's got the race lead. Bill Collie got the shore. Of course, the door slammed on him, and he's sure to try to fight back now. Goes way high, a little bit of wiggling and wobbling further back, but that's not going to affect your leaders. Up top, Collie's in the wall.
In the wall. He missed his turn in, and that's what happens. And almost got Murphy. And he really needs to make sure that he needs to safely get out of the racing line now. His car is hurt.
He's not going to quit, that's for certain. Stays and tucks in with Greg Forsyth here, so maybe got a little bit more left in him, but I don't know if he got away with that one. It was not shallow contact. He drove up there, got a piece or two, now back on the way. Oh, now that's close to Bruno Miranda. Bill Colley in trouble, and again going to block that number 78. How about that? Bruno barely going to get by. Colley definitely wounded. He might have to come down to pit road soon.
Yeah, I think he will. And he's in that Colley in that 31. 31 actually has won the Indy 500 before with Allenser Jr. when he raced for Roger Penske in that Beast, the car they called the Beast. Yeah, and here comes Mikado down pit road. Not sure why there, unless he's answering a penalty for something.
Going to come in rather quickly in this stint, so Mikado is down and in. Could be a penalty. We'll watch out and see whether or not he comes out quickly here, but the leader is going to get away. 1, 2, 3, and Mikado down on pit road with a longer time in the box. I think it is a penalty.
Yeah, he must have 13.7. Not sure exactly what happened there. Here come the leaders. They're going to pass him. So it's Tucker, Orman, Murphy, Altena, Forsyth. Edson Santos worked his way up to 6th. Miranda 7th.
And now the track the darkest it's been all night long. A little bit of cloud cover right over the sun. And it's going to be a little bit of shade for these drivers. Maybe going to change up the track temperature just a bit.
94 just dropped 1 degree. Air temp 65.9.
Perhaps a little more favorable conditions in the final minutes of this race. 25 to go as they'll come through this time by. Mikado back on the way. Bill Colley is going to come down and in as well, so Colley does come through eventually. However, not going to be quick enough for him to, of course, get back on the lead lap. Damage accrued.
Yeah, in his position now that he was so far back, I mean, staying out is not going to get you anything. Just pit, get everything taken care of. And, lick your wounds and move on.
And it looks like that he did. 25 to go on the way. Your leaders are closest battle in this entire pack. Without looking at the leaders, you look at Seth Alexander and Fyodor Dovzhenko. Dovzhenko, one of the rookies who's done well tonight. One other that was doing well was Jonas Weber. He is his first ever VOR race, however, didn't play out with that most recent incident. Dovzhenko is a rookie, much like a few other drivers who are in this mix. However, he's one of which who has never made a start in this series before. Not just a season rookie, but of course a all-time league rookie, which means it's his very first start here, no matter what we've seen previous in this series before. So for Dovzhenko in 11th here, maybe a chance to get inside the top 10 when all is said and done, as it's now going to be Dan Marrero looking with Liam O'Sullivan. It looks like now it's going to be also looking in the frame Eric Mikado, the lapper, racing with that number 63. Can't quite get around though. He does remain close, but isn't going to make much of a difference as we come to the line with 23 laps left.
I'm still thinking Tucker has to stop. I'm still thinking that he has to. I could be wrong. He's 24 on his current stint. Let's say he even goes 10 more. It's only 113. So that could be another reason why Jesper's not pushing him. And Jesper might think, well, Jesper might pull out here and try to pass him right now. If I was in Jesper's position, I would just sit and ride this out, knowing that probably Tucker has the stop.
I think everyone knows Tucker will stop eventually here, so Jesper He's not going to lie back, maybe trying to use Tucker as a bit of a buffer, perhaps, if all is said and done correctly. No signal so far from Tucker as to when he will come down and in, but presumably that signal going to come within the next 5 laps. We're coming around 22 to go, maybe going to come in at the 20 lap to go marker. We're getting very, very close to that one, and now it's going to be 21 laps remaining. We are 105 laps in. The home stretch is here and now. Look at Dan Morera. You see Bruno Miranda also there. Edson Santos going to be in the mix. And these drivers.
Shout out to Dan, man. Of course, my hero. He is having a heck of a race. He's worked his way up into the top 10. We see him on Thursday nights now in the FIS on Race First. And he's had a decent couple of first races there in that series as well. But good to see him on the oval. And he is chasing down Bruno like it's going out of style. Bruno's gone to the high side. But here comes Morera to the inside with the momentum. Come on, Dano.
Morera getting closer and closer to making a pass here, number 78. It looks like now it's going to be Morera just a bit further back, lunging down to the inside. Bruno stays up top, can't quite get through.
Oh, almost got the wall. Almost got the wall, Dan did, but he's still got momentum. Going to get right to the rear attenuator, Miranda. Not enough to pass him. Miranda up top. Going through 2 lines through the corners. Real IndyCar racing is pretty much to the bottom. You don't really see 2 lines through the corners here in Indianapolis. Only time you really see them lined like that is during the pace and parade laps.
Yes.
So what this high line is allowing Miranda to do is get a great run off corner exit. And it's also keeping Morera at bay because Morera can't get that faster run off the bottom.
And looking once again at the leaders, one driver who's joined the party, Julian, is now going to be within a half a second of leader Joshua Tucker. Tucker stays out for a 28th consecutive lap now, but Alton is inside the podium, and I think now Julian knows more than ever there's an opportunity to make some gains, especially when Tucker goes away. Getting up to third quickly, maybe a chance to make up 2 more spots. Julian within closing range. Another battle brewing. Fyodor Dovchenko going to be passed here very fast. Looks like Seb Alexander makes room. Dan Morera right behind Bruno once again, but the leaders are tightening up. And I think now Julian wants to put down more pressure with Craig Forsyth coming through at the same time.
And this is where you would be on the radio with your teammates saying, gotta go, boys. It's not time. You spent the better part of 108 laps just kind of riding around, getting to this point. It's time to start moving forward now. And if you're not going to do it now, you're never going to do it. So gotta go.
Up top, Julian going to take it through that second groove. Craig Forsyth in the mix as well. Now more and more of these drivers making it through and getting closer to one another, knowing time is of the essence. It'll be 16 laps to go next time by. I think that is going to be the big deciding factor. Does Tucker decide to pull off this time by? But of course, if he chooses not to, then what? This time through, the 77 opts to stay out again, trying to get every lap he can out of it. I think he's got at most 2 more laps in it. 16 remaining now, 14 laps to go. All bets will be off, and Julian goes up top. Mark Murphy to the middle, and you'll see already these leaders looking for an opportunity, a different groove. They just can't quite find it, and that's going to be make or break as they run down the backstretch all over again. Not yet going to be in the hands for Jesper Wernemann. However, he does have to look just ahead to know the lead will at some point be his, so long as he keeps Mark Murphy at bay. And Tucker, this time through, pitting in. He's going to signal at 31 laps, and he will say goodbye from the front of the field. Tucker is going to give way to Jesper Wernemann, new race leader with 15 laps left.
And should be pointed out, here's Murph going to the inside. Murph going to get that position. Should be pointed out that Jesper and Josh are now teammates with the IR team. So it could have been that they're 2 teammate guys at the front just kind of helping each other out.
And now the field.
Edson Santos out of the fifth now. He's sneakily got up there.
Santos looking good to run right behind Craig Forsyth. As you mentioned, for Santos, it's been an up and down day for this team, but from 6th in the start to 5th right now, not all a bad day to keep an eye out for. Craig Forsyth, 26th to 4th. Jesper Orman, 30th up into 2nd. Mark Murphy takes the race lead now, and all of a sudden, it looks like Tucker actually disconnects, so he's going to bow down and bow out with that move. He's going to go out on top with that lap, but he's not going to finish the rest of this race. Orman down to the race lead again, and he'll take the spot. Dan Morera looking low on Bruno Morera as well.
Yeah, and he's clear. So move Morera up to 6th. So that the high line giveth and the high line taketh away, because if you miss the high line, well, that wall comes up to you and greets you an awful lot quicker than it does anywhere else. And Bruno might have had to roll out of it. In the meantime, that allowed Dano to keep his foot in it and move the 4D car up. So we got 2 4D cars involved in the battle now. In 6th and 4th, we got a race first car up there in 2nd. We got an IAA car in 1st. We got a VOR car in 3rd. Got a Leaner Energy right there in 5th. And Morera looking at the highs. So Morera was watching. Craig almost gets to the wall. Morera was watching Miranda there, and now he's trying the high side. Now he's back to the bottom.
See, now Julian going to be much further away. Jesper Orman has stretched this lead now with the 12 laps to go. A big wreck. 2 drivers are going to be spinning and sliding. O'Sullivan is involved, and we are once again under caution. O'Sullivan, Alaric Vanden Bosch, and Pedro Bibel. 3 drivers involved.
And Mikado.
Caution's out.
Mikado looks like as well.
And we're taking a look back immediately here to figure out what caused it. O'Sullivan looks like he might have been the one that kicked it all off. And always this exit out of 2.
Oh, yeah, and it's, again, like Rena's VK's wreck. Just gets loose there on corner exit.
And a hard hit. And for Joshua Tucker, if he didn't disconnect, he would have had a chance to stay with it here.
Oof. He might have actually maybe clipped the apron a tick. I don't know. But unfortunately, Eric here, innocent victim. And that really nullifies a great race for him. Just nowhere to go. I mean, he arca braked it. He didn't lit up. He kept right on into him.
And Mikado now going to be at the back of the field, who's 1 lap down. As such, it's only going to be a total now of 12 drivers on the lead lap. Liam O'Sullivan's night is effectively over. So it's going to be a sprint. We're going to have 9 laps at the very most, maybe 8 laps under green.
Right, so what we're going to have here is we're going to have several going to do a pump fake for the pits, I'm sure. If I am the leader, I'm not stopping. But if I am far enough back and I'm on the lead lap, so Kinder is going to, Dojinko is staying out, Vanden Bosch is going in, Bleibel's going in, Connolly is going in, but Connolly's a lap down. Okay, so Vanden Bosch, Bleibel, and Kinder, last 3 cars on the lead lap. So what they're simply going to do is they're going to get new tires. They don't need fuel. And when they catch back up to the field, because we're at 10 to go or less, all the cars that are in front of them that are a lap down are going to be cycled back. So they'll be pushed forward to the next car ahead of them in the order. So Kinder should line up directly behind Dojinko. And if that's the case, Dojinko then, he's got himself a battle right off the bat, because he has 23 lap old tires. And he's going to have a car that's light on fuel and fresh tires right behind him. So he's going to have to really, really hustle it. The other thing is these cars up front, and that these guys haven't practiced any lighter tank and old tire restarts. They got to watch out from getting loose in turn 1 on the restart, which we had before with Bart. So we got to watch that as well. So a lot of things are going to go on in this restart, not just sprint to the finish, but they got to make it through turn 1 first, and then all of a sudden these guys toward the back of this pack that did not pit, they got to battle cars that are light on fuel with new tires, and that's really hard to do.
The question is, even if we make it out of turn 1, with so few laps remaining, there's still a possibility we get to a back-to-back yellow situation. One we haven't been in all night long, mind you, but if we do that, that takes us to about lap 121, and it's going to be a 3-lap or 4-lap dash if we really get to that point. So we want to avoid that caution, but it doesn't mean we'll avoid it permanently here. This time by, it's going to be 1 lap to green. We are now in the range where we can only have 1 more caution and finish this race on the green. I think anything else will send us to a yellow flag finish if we're looking at it right.
Yep. And thankfully, no red flags here, and at least the sim when it comes to IndyCar racing. Not a big fan of that myself. No green, white checkers, which I'm all right with. These races, they go a distance. They're not supposed to necessarily be there to make the fans happy afterwards. They're racing to a distance. Keep in mind, Dario Franchitti never won a single one of his 500s under a green flag. He won every single one of them under caution. But those wins do not count any less than, say, a win from someone that's only won 1 or 2 times. So, winning the 500 and winning Indianapolis is still winning at Indianapolis. Although Marcus Ericsson should be a 2-time Indianapolis 500 champion right now. I like Joseph Newgarden, but Joseph benefited from that red flag big time last season.
Looks like one driver getting a penalty, and it's going to be Bill Colley. He's going to be sent to the end of the line as a 1-lap down driver, so I'm not quite sure what that penalty is going to do.
So that's not a penalty. That is because of the IndyCar rule where it puts all the cars on the same lap, on the lead lap together for the start, with less than 10 to go. So that's rule. That's IndyCar rules. That's fine. So let's watch these guys with new tires as we're getting ready to go green.
Kinder to the back bumper of Fyodor Dovchenko. We are back on the way with 8 laps remaining, and Kinder already going to get aggressive on that high side. So Seb is coming up. Jesper Ullman gets the jump. Mark Murphy in second. This is the final countdown. And we got one driver on the wall.
Yeah, but he's going to keep going, but he might have overdrove the corner a little bit by trying to hold on to that position. Should have just let him go. Seb was in the prime spot. Keep in mind, Fordor had a shot to it. If he wanted to pit then too, he could have. He chose to stay out. I think I would have pit. Anything from 6th on back, I would have pitted probably, or 7th on back. Back up front, Murph is the leader, but in the inside, here comes Jesper. North end of the racetrack, over the main entrance tunnel, right in front of the Riley's Children's Hospital suites there. That used to be part of the Brickyard Inn, a hotel that used to be there. Julian's going to take a 3 wide going into 3. You cannot do that, boys. But here we go anyways.
Jesper Ullman lies bottom. It's going to be Julian who tries 3, can't make it stick. He's the driver who has to give, and now Ullman back out in front. 6 laps remaining this time. By going to be blocking down to the bottom, so Julian goes high, and Mark Murphy's going to block the number 11 subsequently. Now coming into turn 1, Ullman going to get that low groove going. Mark Murphy with momentum. They're side by side once again, and you can see them coming through. Double file they remain, but it looks like Ullman going to get the lead once more as they rush down the back straight. One driver in the wall, minor contact, nothing comes of it. Altena looks 3 middle, gets blocked again. They don't want to see any glimpse of going 3 wide once more, so Julian lies back, and Mark Murphy now has to set himself up to maybe get right beside
Marrera to the inside of Forsyth, coming down the street. It's a battle between teammates. Got a good run coming off of 4. Marrera is also going to get the draft of Santos and move Marrera now, my hero, up to P5.
So now Dan Marrera makes 1 spot up. It looks like Craig Forsyth is going to be in the mix here with Sebastian Kinder and Bruno Miranda. And Kinder still trying to make up spots into 8th already. I'm not quite sure what else he can do here with 5 remaining. It's going to be 4.5 laps when we're really looking at where we are. I don't know if it's enough time.
Track temp is 100 degrees, so it's getting slippery out there. I mean, the 4 to go, so a qualification run now is all that's left in this race. 10 miles. doing the dragon down the front stretch, otherwise known as the snake. Trying to break the draft. Murph and Jesper go side by side in the 1. Julian's trying to look for some type of hole, some type of edge to get through. He really can't when you're side by side with 2 cars in front of you in the corners here at Indianapolis. All the while, this is letting Santos and Moreira kind of creep into the picture. 3 wide coming into 3. This is some of my seats I sat in for the longest time when I went to the 500 right there in 3. Now we're in the north chute in the 4. Coming down the main straight, Julian power slides it off of 4 a little bit. Murph to the inside. Now I go to the outside. It's got to run. Coming into 1 on the outside, side by side, just like Mears and Andretti in 91. This time the pace is equal. Both are going to go side by side through the south chute. Into 2. Now back down the backstretch. 5/8 of a mile. Back into the turn. 9 degrees of banking. It looks flat, but they're pretty banked.
Coming out of turn 4, Jesper Orman with the advantage, but at this point we are coming down to 2 laps to go. Murphy up high, 5 miles to settle the score, and now the number 34 machine far out of the mix. It's the number 69 who goes right up top. Orman finds himself bottom side. He's still got it there. It's going to be neck and neck with Julian Altena running in 3rd here, and Julian, who's been right with the pack.
Coming up at 2. We've got a battle now again with Bruno and Moreira and Forsyth. Forsyth got the position back. Moreira had a little bit of a moment coming off of 2. Oh, Craig into the wall. I think it might have taken Dan with him a little bit. Craig goes sideways. Craig's damaged.
Craig's going to save it, but he does have damage. 1 lap to go. White flags out in Indianapolis. Now going to be Mark Murphy, who looks up top.
Miranda gets the run. He got the position. I think Moreira might be damaged.
And now, white flag, race is official no matter what happens. Jesper Orman, who started in 30th and last tonight, finds himself on the bottom. Forsyth's going to slide. We stay green. Julian goes up top, making it 3 wide through 3. And he's going to have to give. Altena's going to go up top.
Coming off of 4. It's in best interest of Jesper just to kind of weave it, bring it down to the bottom. Oh, he does the illegal move that's going to be illegal this year for the real speedway. Coming to the line. 0.021 over Murphy. Jesper Orman's your winner.
Orman wins from the back of the field up to the front from last to first. Orman collects the checkered flag and wins the 11th running of the Indianapolis 500 kilometer. Top to bottom, Orman had to see it all, and tonight he comes out alive with the win. 21 thousandths. That's the difference.
I'm trying to take a better look at this finish here. But yeah, that's woo. Got to fast forward. 3 wide going into 3. Julian that's the only place he could have gone. He had to send it. Unfortunately, there's just no grip up there in that 3rd line. There's no momentum. It's the longer way around. Jesper does the which we're going to be the illegal move. It's the New Garden maneuver.
Orman will bring it to the yard of bricks and park the car and begin his celebration. And what a race to win for a driver we saw already collect a checkered flag this season, looking for a chance to bring it back to victory lane, and no better track than Indianapolis.
No, if I have to say, this is probably, if you ask him, this is one of his favorite tracks. But he was in the booth with me just for a little bit for the IIS race, and he had to take the virtual jet here, so he did tell me as we got off the air with each other. He goes, "I will be talking to you later today," and he is right.
Coming back to the line. Looks like it's going to be parking at Jesper Urman. Quick celebration. By no means was that a quick race. It's going to be a long effort, 500 kilometers, and let's look at your results. Jesper Urman will win over Mark Murphy by 21 one-thousandths of a second. Then from there, going to be Julian Altona in third and Edson Santos in fourth, with Bruno Miranda then fifth, Dan Morera 6th, and Sebastian Kinder in 7th, Patrick Zovazzi 8th, and Pedro Bibel then in 9th, with Alaric Vandenbosch rounding out the top 10.
Yeah, moving on there outside the top 10, Forsyth smacked the wall, damaged his car, brought her home 11th, Alexander Seb there in 12th, Colley 13th, Toshiko 14th, Sullivan 15th. Moving on, Mikado 16th, although that is really not indicative of how he ran all day. Tucker led the late stages, just wasn't going to make it on fuel. Went ahead and just parked at 17th. Weber, Chin, Feuerstein is your top 20. Strauss, Richter, Boney, Kraus, Fidian DeCuna, Lovern, Vicente, Inch, Christensen, Molina. Let's see what we else got for the field. I think that's it. So 30-car field, a great lineup for this showing here for the 500K here at Indianapolis for VOR.
And a great showing it was. Overall, 13 drivers come out on the lead lap, and 30 starters all at least taking the green flag. Excitement from the very beginning. We saw a short stint to get us to the end. For all of our top 3 drivers, they had to weather the storm from the very beginning. So this time around, we'll get our third place finisher in Julian Altona in the broadcast booth, and he'll be standing on right by Gary. All right, we got our number 11 machine, and we're going to talk to him. Third place, Julian Altona. Gary, you're standing by with him.
All right.
Allow him into this.
Hey, Julian, we got you in here. Watch what you say. We got you on live video now. Hey.
I'm going to say really bad curse words.
Well, that yellow, really, you needed that yellow, because I don't think you guys, if you had to make one more stop and you would have had to really fill your cars up while everyone else had shorter stops. I wasn't sure that without that yellow, you guys were going to be in contention. But I think the yellow really helped you guys at the end. But you are the victim of being that third car in line here at Indianapolis. We see it all the time. The aero pushback there was very difficult, but you still managed to pilot it to third, 0.029 behind Jesper at the line.
Yeah, I was able to make it. No worries on that. I worked with the guys on the strategy to get it right, so no worries on the fuel, and I'm sure that Jesper and Mark also got it down. I was a bit surprised to see Josh stay out under that yellow, but yeah, I mean, I guess it kind of showed that it wasn't the right decision, because he finished I don't know down where, P16 or so.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, just like you said, it was hard to pass from third on back, but yeah, it was still doable. Like, it was the right amount of hard, in my opinion. Like, it was doable. So I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good setup, especially towards the end. It really came down to it. We didn't have a full-on pack race, which is what I wanted to avoid, which is what we did. So all boxes ticked from that standpoint. Just a great finish to the race, and everything went smooth from what I saw at the start as well. So no complaints on anything.
Yeah, 34 lead changes overall, so a pretty competitive run at the front. Shout out to anyone who wants to say hi to. I'm sure you have them.
Yeah, I want to thank you guys for broadcasting. Want to thank the team, especially Gary and John after John left also. But those guys helped me with some information about the track temp and stuff, so that helped me a lot. They also ran some fuel numbers for me, which I normally do myself, but I was too busy driving, so I couldn't do it myself.
Helpful.
Otherwise, I would have been in the wall. So great thanks to them. And of course, well done to everybody that finished the race. It was a tough race, and I also told my teammates this: like, it's a race of attrition, so just keep yourself in it. Even though the gaps might be strung out quite a bit, just keep yourself in the race, and you'll finish well. Which is exactly what Pedro did, and he finished top 10 from 24th on the grid. So he did good.
Not bad.
Yeah. So great result for us too in the teams championship as well. Yeah, I want to thank 40 Race for sponsoring the league for almost 2 years now, I believe, maybe even 3 years. So I want to thank Jim for that. I want to thank Writer Engineering eSports for sponsoring the race. I hope you guys got that all sorted. Wink, wink to David, but just kidding. Yeah, congrats to Jesper on a great win. Last to first again. Somebody has to stop him, and we came close today, but not close enough.
All right, congratulations, buddy. We will see. I guess next on the lineup is Imola. So we'll go back to turning a little left and right for the next race. We'll catch you on the next one, man. Congrats on the P3.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Imola is going to be great. I love that track. So see you then.
I know you do. All right. Bring up Murph now. Hey, Murph, not quite exactly the finish you wanted by 0.21 seconds, but still, P2 overall. You were up there all day long. That last caution certainly, I believe, helped you guys and brought her home second after starting seventh.
Yeah, I mean, that last caution might have been, that last caution was kind of icing on the cake. I mean, we had enough to do what we needed to do before that, but it just meant that the last 5 laps instead of the last 2 were going to be full gas. So much fun racing with guys like Jesper and Julian that you can trust up there. I sure hope that was a good show, because it was wild in the car, but you never felt unsafe. Just only thing is, doggone it, couldn't have Julian held his powder for about another 100 feet, because that's how much longer I needed to stay in Jesper's slipstream. To get enough run. We were kind of talking about it in Discord. I told him, I said, it's not so much that I'm going to try to pass you, I'm just timing you up. And
Gotcha.
Julian, because I knew I wasn't going to be able to drive around him on the outside as good as he is, and so I was just going to try to slingshot him at the line. And I thought I had it timed up, and then Julian, as it turned out, had both of us timed up, so had to run a bit wider than I wanted to in the last.
I play a little 4D chess sometimes.
We were playing it. The strategy in this race really started, with that first caution, and a bunch of them guys come in and pitted, and I've been burned by that strategy game so many times. And when Julian stayed out, I said, well, let's just get out here and do the slingshot thing, and if nothing else, we'll be safe, and we won't be buried in the pack somewhere and be subject to rough goings on that happen there sometimes. And thankfully, it worked out. We got a couple of nice caution flags that really helped us. So Gary, that was good.
Well, congratulations on the P2. I know you wanted one more better, but still, second, still not too bad in the championship as well. You've had a couple podiums this season, so just adding to that total. Sure, you got some shout out sponsors for sure. Family, I hear them all in the background. I'm sure they were watching the race. Hope they enjoyed it. Go ahead, microphone's yours.
Yeah, Gary. Thank you. First of all, you do a wonderful job. Thanks to the crew at Raceverse. As always, kind of bittersweet day.
Dave did the heavy lifting today. I showed up. I'm only a part timer today. I had to show up 30 laps late because I was doing the IIS race. So
I would have loved to.
Dave is doing all the heavy lifting today.
I would have loved to have been. I would have loved to have been in that race, but this one kind of took a little priority. So you guys do a wonderful job, and thank you for your help, and Black Magic Designs, Warriors for Peace, the Elite Racing League admin box, all the fine people that help us out and put their name on my car. It's I thank all of you, and maybe next time we'll be the one up by a couple inches. But Jesper's a heck of a driver, and always a pleasure to run up front with him. So thank you so much, Gary, and I hope the boys behaved while they were watching the race in the other room, and hope you have a good night, guys.
All right, you got it.
Yep.
Well, Dave, it's all up to you to bring the winner in here.
And how about that for Jesper Orman, the man from the back of the field up to front, completing the last to first challenge in the most important race of the season. We heard from Gary, you were talking to him just before you made your way over to the virtual Brickyard, and it looks like everything came true. A win here in the Indy 500K. How's it feel to come out on top?
Feels good. Not gonna lie. I didn't want to become a new Scott Goodyear, so I decided to become myself instead. Wasn't that 1992? Scott Goodyear 1992. I think he started in 30th.
92 was a close finish. Yep, and you were the Al Unser Jr. this time.
Right, exactly. It's good.
21 thousandths. That was the difference. So you avoided that so close fate of defeat, and getting the victory, such a big deal tonight. You had speed, but we saw you really in the second half from lap 62 onward, making those moves up and eventually fighting with Mark Murphy and company. What was it like as you had to claw through to get to that point, knowing you were from every spot in the field, last to first, and eventually on top?
Yeah, I tried to overtake as many cars as I could in the beginning. I overtook like 5 or 6 cars or whatever. And then that yellow came out, and that was actually from that point, you were able to save fuel. So that's what I did. I had it in map 5, and I think I had it covered, honestly. I don't think nobody else had. So that's why I was sitting around like P12, P13. I was behind Craig Forsyth for the most of that stint. And then yellow came out. I think it was 60 something. No, 72 to go or something. And I was kind of struggling there. So I decided to undercut and pit early as soon as the window opened. So I pitted with 59 to go, which is basically exactly when the window opens. I was able to overtake a couple of cars, including Bruno Miranda and Craig Forsyth on that undercut. And then I think, basically controlling the race from there. It's always tricky when the yellow comes out with like 12 to go. Should I pit? Should I not pit?
Yeah.
But I
Hey, I
decided.
got a real quick question for you though, buddy. You had a moment off of turn 3 that probably got your heart rate and your attention up. Talk about that.
Yeah, it came together with, I think it was Bruno Miranda. Okay, I haven't seen it, but what I felt was that he kind of came down. I'm sure I came up a little bit, but he came down in an erratic way. Usually you don't do that when you have a car on the inside. So, I was for first couple of laps there, I thought I had front right suspension damage, but turned out I was okay. So yeah, I got a little bit lucky. Not gonna lie.
A combination of the luck you mentioned and the skill to drive all the way up. And tonight, Jesper Ullmann, that gets you a victory here in Indianapolis. Of course, we're signing off, and you've got the final words when it comes to every driver. So if there's anyone else you'd like to shout out, any final message you have before we move on to the second half of the season, make sure to let us know.
Absolutely. We, as a team, IAR, we are basically starting a new chapter in our team history. We are going to, most of us are going to have new paint jobs. So
I
those
noticed
paints,
that. Oh.
yeah, those paints are provided by Jonas Weber. So big shout out to him. Thanks for working that out for us. And yeah, I'm looking forward to see what kind of how do you say, team setup we can have, or like it's gonna be interesting to see all those car liveries.
Well, Jesper Ullmann getting it done and coming through in victory lane. The number 2 team, one spot higher than the number. It's a win in the Brickyard. Thank you once again.
Thank you, guys.
I think that victory, and of course the drivers we spoke to, Gary, a great note to end on. 125 laps of hard-fought racing. And before we move on to what's next in the championship fight, you got any final thoughts after we look at this race here from Indy?
No, Jesper called his shot. It's more than once he's done that this year, where he says, "I'm going to talk to you later," and he comes through. But I just want to give a shout out to my man Dan Morera. Good finish for him. But it's always good to be back for my home track in Indianapolis, and I wish everybody that was at home watching to make sure that if you enjoyed it, hit the thumbs up, subscribe, and all that good stuff, because it's always good to broadcast a race from my home track. So thanks for allowing me to come in here a little bit late. And we're off to Imola and a very famous Formula One road course next. And so we're going to put these a little bit heavier, a little bit lower powered IR18s on them and see what happens next week. But I suspect now that we're back off the oval, we'll probably see a continuation of kind of Bruno and Julian and Pedro on the road courses, kind of doing what they've done all season. So we'll see, but we still got a little time before that. But again, thanks for having me here, and I hope everyone at home had a good time watching.
and we can't wait to go on to the next half of this schedule here in the Velocity Online Racing League. You're watching the IR18 series, and tonight, as we've of course seen for 125 laps, we saw the action from the virtual Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Your winner tonight, Jesper Werman, in the first of 2 races on the channel. We'll stick around at 7:45 Eastern. We'll have Alexander Balderas on the call for the Saturday Night Thunder Grand National Series. They're heading to another big track in Talladega for the final race of their regular season, and we'll be back together next Saturday at Imola, as you mentioned. It's now time for the final stretch here in Season 11. I'm David Croyt, alongside Gary Godso, bringing you the commentary of all tonight's racing action. If you enjoyed tonight's event, make sure to leave a like on the stream and subscribe to the channel. Your support is always immensely appreciated, and we hope to see you next Saturday night. Thank you for your time, and we hope you have a great night.